I came into this process, I asked for a strong, intelligent man who has a bit of integrity. I find him quite weak-willed. You really aren't as sharp as you think you are. It's pretty obvious, I think, to most.
It's interesting what a few episodes or how a few episodes can change your perception of someone. I always had high regard for Lacy and Sasha, and sadly, this episode showed their bad side. And Holly, why is she always at the center of all the cheating scandals or of all the inappropriate behavior? She was involved in the Stephen and Shannon scandal. Now she's involved in the Orson and Hannah scandal. Why is she the common denominator? And am I surprised that those people went home? No, I'm not surprised. Both couples deserve to go home. They could have taken 2 more with them. We could have lost 4 couples. I don't know why we didn't. But anyway, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe. Click the like button, share, comment, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight UK Season 9 Episode 21. So it's time for a commitment ceremony, and we know definitely at least one couple is going home, if not 2 or 3, in my opinion. They all need to go home, but 2 or 3 couples. But hey, it is what it is. So you have the couples getting ready for the dinner party. You have Sasha and Ross busy playing. Well, they're not playing, actually. They're practicing sign language because, Sasha's really serious about, learning how to communicate with her husband, which is amazing. You have Lacy and Nate. They're in a good place. They're in their apartment getting ready. With Alex and Holly, sorry. Well, he's saying they're in a very good space. He says they now understand each other better. And it's like, if you understand each other better, the better for you. We don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. You have the case. So Kieran and Christina, apparently, it seems with her PMDD, because something must have happened on the retreat, because they're saying, Kieran is saying, I'm happy that we're in a space where we can actually talk. And it's like, oh my God, was it really that bad? How did we not see what was going on with them? Why were we not shown? I don't know. You have Adam and Polly. Adam and Polly, for me, they need to go home. They really need to go home, because Polly is sort of, it's competitive communication, competitive relationship, in the sense that Polly is saying, you've said very bad things about me several times. I only said one bad thing and yet you're upset. So why are you upset? And it's like, it's not like that. It's, why did you say it? You forced this man to have sex with you. You forced this man to kiss you. You forced a lot of men. You made this man sort of change his mind and change his opinion on a lot of things, only for you to slap him in the face and tell him that, no, actually, I prefer someone else because I believe they would give me what I want. And it's like, as much as you prefer Stephen didn't say you're his type. He actually said Siobhan is his type. So maybe don't ruin your relationship. You have Casper and Emma. They're in a very good place because, they feel like the retreat was very good for them. And it was very good. I think the problem is Emma tried to cram in a lot of things to make sure that this time, by the time they got to the commitment ceremony, Casper would say stay, because, they had the physical intimacy, the communication. She did a lot of things. She opened up to him. And I wish she had slowly progressed, because now Casper is saying he feels overwhelmed and he feels like they're not in the same space as everybody else. And it's like, I understand where you're coming from. You have Luke and Amy. Luke and Amy, they didn't have an amazing retreat at all, because sadly they were left holding the baby. They had to entertain Hannah, and Luke is not in the best of spaces because he says, we didn't get to do anything by ourselves, because they were sharing the same apartment, and so they had to keep her company. There was no way they would walk out and leave her alone. So he's not in a good space. Amy feels what he's saying and she's really sad for him, but what do? You have, Hannah is upset because she really felt like, they could have given it a try, and her husband didn't even make an effort to try to sort of revive their marriage. So she's unhappy. On his part, Stephen is just enjoying the views and is just enjoying his time away from his family, as far as I'm concerned. Then you have Siobhan and Ryan. Well, they are in this space whereby they're discussing Stephen and Stephen's attempt at sort of trying to sort of chat up Siobhan, and she's not feeling it because she doesn't feel like, he's her type one. She doesn't appreciate what he did. Ryan has been very cool about this whole thing. I expected him to say something. I don't know whether he's waiting until they get to the commitment ceremony in front of the experts. I don't know, we'll wait to see. And then you have, Rochelle and Orson. Rochelle, for me, I've said this before, I'll say it again, she should have left earlier. When she walked out, she should have walked out and kept going, because the problem is her initial edit at the start of the season was terrible, and you knew it was just a matter of time until she gave them the equipment that they needed to sort of the material to work with. And now they've painted her into this villain when we all see that Orson is not as clean cut as he makes out, because on his part he's saying, Rochelle didn't turn up yesterday, I hope she turns up today, I wanted to get whatever she wants to get off her chest and speak her mind, because he's trying to paint her out to be the villain. He is going to be the innocent party there and is going to benefit from her being villainized. He should have just left. I wish they were like Married at First Sight New Zealand, because I remember when a wife left, the experts actually came in and told the husband, it's time for you to leave because your wife is left. And I wish they had done the same. I wish they hadn't brought them back for the commitment ceremony, but they had actually told them, okay, your partner's left, she didn't turn up for the dinner party, so it's time for you to go. Because Orson is going to milk this and is going to make himself be the victim, and I don't think he's the victim anymore. I think as much as Rochelle has said some of the most terrible things and has done some of the most sort of humiliating things, I think Orson is not an innocent party as far as I'm concerned. So everybody arrives for the commitment ceremony, and it's like, oh, it's about to go down. Because the experts say, don't be afraid to say anything, make sure you're open, don't be embarrassed, don't fear for, ashamed, just say what you need to say. So the first couple called up, surprise, surprises, Alex and Polly. I used to have a soft spot for Polly up until this Hannah incident, because she's been roped into this mean girl sort of mentality and clique that I didn't like that side of her this week. I really didn't like it. It was a very bad look, in my opinion, because she came across as one of the very sweet girls, her and Lacy. And so for them to suddenly be on the same bandwagon as Polly, I don't get. Anyway, her and Alex say that they're doing very, very well. They say their communication has been much better this week. They think they're progressing as a couple. They understand each other. She was able to sort of explain to Alex her traumas and why she behaves the way she does at certain intervals, which makes sense, which I think I said before that I feel like Holly has previously been in an abusive relationship. And so at times when Alex does certain things, she is triggered because she thinks what used to happen to her is about to happen. And I think opening up to him, especially when she complained about his nonverbals, made a huge difference to him, because he was able to understand. And I wish they had recorded each other with their little phones, like when they're having a bad moment, and then they could watch it back and see how they come across. This would have helped them as a couple tremendously. But anyway, they're both in a very good space. Alex is happy. He's actually smiling. He says she now understands me. She knows it's you can talk to me. And it's like, well, if the two of you are saying you're happy, hey, who are we to judge, because we barely see much? Anyway, they both decide to stay. Is anyone surprised? No. And they're actually encouraging everybody else, have patience. And it's like, I don't know. Obviously, they hint to Charlene that they don't need her input. And it's like, obviously, that's one of the main reasons that Holly has been happy, because he must have been doing a good job. And sadly, I feel like Married at First Sight should ask, I know they're all adults who are consenting, but I think one of the requirements should be people should at least spend a week together before they start thinking about sex, because sex affects a lot of things, and certain people stay in toxic marriages just because they like the sex, which isn't a good idea as far as I'm concerned. Next up is Shannon and Ryan. Ryan is furious. He is on fire. He is seething. Anyway, they sit down and they're asked, have there been any issues? Obviously, they speak about their misunderstanding. Apparently, Ryan said he was done and she thought he was leaving the experiment, so she felt some type of way. He woke up and found her gone. And so they had a conversation and realized that, this was a trigger for her. I don't know whether one of her exes, every time he said they're done, he meant like their relationship is over. So they say they've been able to address their concerns regarding that issue and they've moved on. They feel they're a lot stronger as a result of that, of going through that. And then it comes up, Paul asks, Ryan, you were very agitated as the evening progressed yesterday at the dinner party. What happened? And he sort of says, Holly came up to me and told me that Stephen was trying to make a pass at my wife. And Holly backs it up and says, yes, he called me and said, she's my type. If Stephen doesn't come, I want to give it a go. And then this man has the audacity on national TV. You're being recorded, buddy. It's there. I wish the experts had actually played it for him. Because for him to refuse and say, no, I would never use those words. But you still use the implication. You said, if Ryan doesn't come, would she be happy to stay with Stephen? What does that mean? What does that mean? 1 + 1 is 2. Don't try and convince us that 1 + 1 is 3. You said it, own it, and apologize and keep it moving. And so for him to try and sort of dispute that didn't make any sense. I like the fact that Ryan stood on business. He stood on business and told him, don't lie, you said it. Admit you said it. So Paul was trying to address it and sort of find out exactly and dissect it. And Ryan said, no, we're not going to touch it. We're going to leave it at that. I don't need an explanation from him. I don't need him to say anything. And at least someone called him out, because he said to Stephen, you've been grilling Hannah ever since you got into the experiment. And yet you've done exactly the same thing you're accusing her of doing. Make that make sense? And he couldn't say anything. He couldn't say anything because that's exactly what he's done. The difference is Hannah was flirting. He actually called someone else into his mess and said, can you go and approach that wife and see if she's open to getting to know me? What does that mean? It's not like she's saying she's separated from her husband. There's been a misunderstanding. You don't even know what the misunderstanding is, but already you're trying to shoot your shot. Make it make sense. I don't like it. I think everyone on this season, I know some people are there for love. I know the majority are there for clout. Some are there for love and clout. But in this season, it seems like everyone is there for clout and everyone wants to leave there with, having been a headline. That way they can say, I was on Marriage at First Sight. This was my storyline, blah, blah, blah. Try to sell themselves to management agencies to see if they can make money off that. And I don't like this. I really don't like Stephen, and I don't like the way he's carrying himself. The fact that he's trying to sort of now look at me defending Holly. Holly looked like she lied when he actually said what he said. I wish the experts had played it for him. That way he would have looked like an idiot in front of everyone. Anyway, Luke and Shannon choose to stay. Is anyone surprised? No. They seem to be in a very good space. They always seem to be very peaceful. Outside of this little argument, they always seem to be. They are more on the sort of Nate sort of pathway whereby they mind their own business, they stay in their own lane, they try not to involve themselves in other people's business. So I'm not surprised that they both chose to stay. I've really tried not to laugh. I've really tried to be serious about this, but Luke will not kill me. Luke will not kill me because he and Amy are next on the couch and he is frustrated and he has every right to be frustrated. I remember calling this. I said someone was going to be left holding the baby and this is what happened. So he moans about the fact that they didn't get to enjoy the retreat because they were left holding the baby and they were left, picking up after Hannah because of what was going on with her and Stephen. And so Amy was the nurse, he was the janitor, and they were constantly in this circle whereby they couldn't be alone. Because I remember I even said it in a review that they are having a chat in the morning and Hannah walks into the bedroom with a cup of tea and jumps into bed, and it's like, give them a moment to sort of have a debrief as a couple. Give them a moment to sort of come up with a plan for their day. When they come out of their bedroom, then you join them. You can't sort of join them in their bedroom and then hop into bed on Luke's side and then expect them to be okay. So I get Luke's frustration. I really do get his frustration. And then he talks about the fact that he wasn't happy that Nate was chosen as the most handsome by his wife because, his wife said he was a 12 out of 10 and suddenly she's picking, Nate. He doesn't understand. Nate is sitting there. He's minding his own business. Nate should have a PhD in minding one's own business. He needs to teach classes on how to mind your own business because he didn't even say anything. He just made this face and just minded his business. And so that was surprising for me because I think Luke is a very good looking guy. So for him to hear that his wife thinks somebody else is even more good looking than him, I get where his insecurities come from because he chose his wife as the most beautiful. She said it was just a game, but then we all have our insecurities about our bodies. So I get where he's coming from. They were asked about sex. Initially, they didn't want to answer. In the end, you had him romanticize it and say, I just didn't have sex. I made love to my woman. And the woman said, it was worth the wait. And it's like, oh my God, why do they have to ask them this? It's embarrassing. But I love them as a couple. I love the fact that even though he was upset, there was sort of humor in it. You could find the funny side of it. And so I'm not surprised that they both chose to stay. I think they need to stay. I think with Hannah leaving this week, hopefully they get a chance to just be on their own and spend enough time together, because they seem to calm each other down. They seem to not want to be a part of the drama. Sadly, the drama came to them because I think the experts or the producers looked at who was best suited to sort of cope with Hannah, and then decided to throw Hannah on the two of them. So hopefully with Hannah out of the way, they will be in a better space and they will be able to make amends and come back stronger next week. Next up is Polly and Adam. Polly and Adam, for me, leave a very, very terrible taste in my mouth for a lot of reasons. One, this man has had to be forced to kiss this woman. This man has had to be forced to have sex with this woman. Had tables been turned, had Polly been the one whereby the husband was sort of pushing her to have sex with him, pushing her to kiss him, people would be writing to Ofcom. But because this is happening to a man, it's okay. It's okay with everyone. Everyone can just sit there and just watch it and just say, okay, it is what it is because she wants what she wants. No, it's still the same thing. We should call a spade a spade. Anyway, they sit down and then they bring up the issue of her picking Stephen, twisting to Stephen. I said this last week, I'll say this again. Polly should have just said the truth, that I chose Stephen because I was trying to get back at Hannah because Hannah had picked Alex. And that would have washed over better for her than her continuing to stick to her guns. And for her to try and compare it and try and make it spectator sport where she's saying, you said a lot more bad things about me than I said about you, so I don't get why you're upset. What do you mean? What do you mean? We're not comparing notes. You said something, take ownership of it, apologize, and let's keep it moving. There's no need for you to say, oh, you said, you trade me to another husband, or you said you didn't get the urge to kiss me. That you have moved on from, because had you not moved on from it, you wouldn't be asking him for kisses and cuddles and hugs. But you continue to ask him for that because you've moved on, because you're not offended by it. You're only offended by it selectively because it sort of balances out your stupid comment about Stephen. That's the impression that I get. They both feel some type of way. Yes, I give, Adam credit for saying, you need to understand there's two of us in this relationship. It's not just you. So you need to know that I have things that I want as well. And I wish they would address this issue. She can't force him into having sex with her. She can't force him into kissing her because that's what she wants. He has to want to do that, because if he were to do the same to her, then he would be labeled. He would be labeled and it would be a big thing with Ofcom. So I don't get why the same thing is not happening with her. They both choose to stay. Is anyone surprised? No. They are enjoying their attention. They're enjoying being the center of gravity in this show, because at the moment, they are the ones that are talked about the most out of everybody else, whether it's negative or positive. Some people say, attention is attention, whether negative or positive. As long as you're getting attention, then that's good. And I think this is what they want. But sadly, it's not the type of attention I would want. And I wish somebody would call her out for continuing to insist that she wants this man to hold her hand. She wants this man to hug her. She wants this man. No. And also, Paul was right to say you can't fall in love with potential. If you think in 30 years it's going to be amazing, then I'd advise you to pack your bags and go. And you could see both their faces dropped because they didn't expect anyone to say that. And I wish they'd both said, okay, fine, we're leaving, because they do need to leave. But Channel 4 won't let them leave, because if they leave, then there's no villain, because everybody else outside of Rochelle hasn't given them enough sort of material to turn them into a villain. If Rochelle is leaving today and Polly leaves today, then they have no villain, and they need a villain because Hannah most probably is leaving as well. Next up is Stephen and Hannah. So Stephen and Hannah, for me, I don't think Stephen's feet have been held to the fire enough, because he's not an innocent victim. He is just as bad, if not worse, than Hannah. Because at least Hannah owns her crap. He hasn't owned his crap. He says that when he left the couch, he was still open to the idea of working on his marriage. But then he heard about Hannah flirting with Orson and sort of saying, let's hold hands so that we can make him jealous. And that was disrespectful to him. And his opinion of her got worse when he heard the girls. Why didn't he say he heard Polly and Holly say that she was talking about flirting with other guys? Yes, Shannon owned up that, Hannah had flirted with Ryan, but the other two kept quiet? Why didn't they speak up? For Polly to say that, we welcomed her with open arms. We were very welcoming. Oh, please keep quiet. Please keep quiet. This is being recorded. We are watching you and you're making out blatant lies. Why? And whose battle were you fighting anyway? I feel like Polly was threatened, not only in regards to her husband, but in regards she wants to be the star of the show. And with someone like Hannah, Hannah's going to steal the spotlight from her. And so this is why she made Hannah's life miserable, as far as I'm concerned. Polly made Hannah's life miserable for no reason at all outside of jealousy. She was jealous that Hannah was the type of girl that her husband would normally have gone for. She was jealous that Hannah was getting more attention than she was getting. And so this is why she decided to attack Hannah. And I don't get why nobody did the same to this man. Yes, Paul asked him that, it's ironic that you are complaining that your wife was flirting with everybody else, but you did exactly the same. You did exactly the same. So how can you say you were really interested in making your marriage work, but still you're trying to get it on with somebody else's wife? If he really was that disrespected, if he really was that offended, if he really loved his children that much that he felt he had been taken away from his children for no apparent reason, there was nothing stopping him from packing his bags and leaving at any time. He could have packed his bags and gone home. He had already written leave. He could have left, but he stayed there to make sure that he came out vindicated and to make sure that Hannah was the villain in this storyline. Part of me feels like Hannah should reveal the secret. Part of me, the malicious side of me, feels like he's disrespected her. He said every single thing that he could say about her and he's made her be the bad guy and take responsibility for all the mess that has been their marriage. She should reveal the secret. She should reveal the secret. Why should she continue to sort of honor and sort of keep somebody's secret who's disrespectful towards her? Because even in the end, she said, you're an amazing guy. You're going to be an amazing husband for somebody else. He's already been married, but he's got 4 kids. And there's rumors on the internet about him and his previous relationships. So when will he be a good guy? When will he be a good guy? I'm not defending Hannah because Hannah is wrong for flirting with the guys. That I can say. But he is also wrong for trying to get it on with somebody else's wife and for making it seem as though he was going to make his marriage work when he knew that he was checked out and he was ready to go home. I'm not surprised that they both wrote leave. If they were not going to write leave, I was going to go and pack their bags for them, wherever they are. Next up is Kieran and Christina. It's really sad to see them in this space because they are normally the happy-go-lucky team. They're normally in a very good space. They're normally just all about one another and they don't involve themselves in anyone else's business. And sadly, it seems during the couples retreat, they struggled. Apparently, there was a day that things really didn't go well because of Christina's PMDD. I had to look it up because I'll read it out for you from Dr. Google, as I call it. So it's a condition similar to PMS that also happens in the week or two before your period starts as hormone levels begin to fall after ovulation and causes, well, the symptoms are more severe than PMS, and I can understand why he feels, this will be a struggle for him because the symptoms are, lack of interest in daily activities and relationships, fatigue or low energy, sadness or hopelessness, anxiety, out of control feeling, food cravings, panic attacks, mood swings. So I get where he's coming from because we've had him say he had a previous partner who, if he came home early and she wasn't yet settled in the home, she would tell him to stay in the car until she was good and ready, and then he would be allowed to come out of his car and come into the house. So most of the times you'd either sit in his car and wait, or he would take his dog for a walk. So for him to now be in this relationship whereby every month, like clockwork, he knows that the dark cloud is coming. I don't think this is something that he is prepared for because it's going to be a trigger for him. It's going to bring him back to the time in his former relationship where he didn't feel valued, he didn't feel loved, he didn't feel cared for. And so I get why he said, I have to ask myself that, do I have what it takes to sort of deal with it? Because it's hard work dealing with someone who suffers from a mental health condition, let alone someone who's PMDD, who's got the most severe of symptoms. So anxiety, low moods, erratic feelings. And so who wants to put up with that? Because there's no way of knowing what's going to happen. And he said he's actually cried with her because I think he felt helpless. He didn't know what to do, how to sort of get her out of wherever she was. And so It's a challenge. It really is a challenge, and it's sad because they are the couple that everyone was looking up to. They are the couple that everyone thought were going to do very well, and now if they are struggling, you can only imagine what's going to happen with everybody else, because they were the poster child for happy couples. And so to see the happy couple struggling, to see the happy couple being unsure, is very disheartening for everybody else who's in marriages that are not yet as sort of stable as they thought they were. I give credit to Kieran for actually speaking up for himself and sort of saying how he felt about the whole situation. And Christina, it seems she's had to deal with this. I think she's lost relationships as a result of this. So I'm not surprised that she was open to sort of hearing him. And as much as it hurt her feelings, she's been down this road before. She knows, the music, she knows the tunes and how they go. So I think she was already prepared for him to say, I can't do this anymore. I want to go home. That's what I think she was prepared for, because she started crying. And so for him to say, I'm not saying I want to go home, but I'm saying to myself, am I able to sort of sustain this long term? Will I be able to sort of sustain this until she hits menopause or something? I don't know. So I feel sorry for him, because it seems challenging. It's quite a big decision, because not only is he deciding for himself, but he's also deciding for his partner. And for Christina, she says she's open to whatever he decides. If he decides he wants to go, that's fine. If he decides he wants to continue, that's fine. Because she knows the ups and downs of it. She can't control how she feels. And there's nothing she can do to sort of make things better outside of treatment. I didn't look up what the treatment for it. And I don't think the treatment would be enough to sort of take away all the symptoms. It might manage them to sort of a tolerable level, but I don't think it will completely eradicate the symptoms. Otherwise, she would have got the treatment by now. Anyway, they both choose to stay. Am I surprised? No. I think they're one of the better couples, so I'm not surprised they both chose to stay. Next up is Nate and Lacy. I love Nate. I love Nate because Nate exists in his own little world, in his own little bubble. He doesn't want any drama. He doesn't want any mess. So he's going to do what makes him comfortable. So, Lacy complains that, he said he's not going to tell me he loves me until after the experiment, because he needs to know that we work after the experiment. And for me, I have to say yes. That sounds like a good idea, because you don't want to say I love you just for the cameras. You want to say I love you because you feel like you love this person. You have strong emotions towards this person. You have this sort of desire to let them know how you feel. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, you understand what I mean. So for him to sort of say he's done everything to show her that he loves her. He has done everything. She defended him in front of her mom because she said he does the things that show her that he cares for her, and he has this deep affection for her. So I don't know why she wants him to utter the words I love you. Why that would be a worry. You are in a better space than some of your friends. You're in a better space than Alex and Holly. You're in a better space than Adam and Polly. So appreciate what you're getting from your husband and keep it moving. He hasn't done anything for you to question his motives or his intentions. So I would take what he's offering you and keep it moving. Sadly, Lacy and Holly were some of my favorite girls, but because of their behavior towards Hannah, I'm indifferent to them now. I am indifferent to them. Am I surprised that they both chose to stay? No, because you can see that they're growing. You can see that they're developing. As long as they mind their own business and stay in their bubble, they'll be fine. The moment Lacy starts involving herself in other people's business is the moment they're going to go left, because I don't think Nate is someone who will tolerate that. So next up is Casper and Emma. Casper and Emma, for me, I really love them as a couple. And I think they were doing very well at the couples retreat, just because this was a familiar environment to Casper, because Casper moved away from London to go and live in the countryside. And so this was an environment that he's comfortable with, in my opinion. And that's why he felt safe and open to trying anything. Emma, on her part, took the feedback from the sort of experts and really felt motivated to make her marriage work, because I think him sort of writing leave shook her, and because of that she decided to put in as much effort as needed in order to sort of make this thing work. And they were working until the girls' retreat, sadly, or until she tried to solicit advice from other people, because Casper said the kiss was amazing. She's a very good kisser. He can't knock her for that, which is good. At least he gave her a positive comment. But then then he felt some type of way about the fact that the girls were encouraging the girls were encouraging Emma to kiss him and sort of have sex with him, and then they would be able to overcome a lot of issues. And he was saying, this is not it for us. That's not the pace we're moving at. And so kudos to him for not taking the bait like Adam, because Adam was baited into having sex with Polly and he did it. And Casper stood on his ground and said, no, the kiss is amazing, but I want us to move at the pace that we're moving at. Do I think there's hope? I don't know. I think they actually match each other, irregardless of what Casper thinks. I think, yes, she's not his type, she's a curvy girl, but they actually look like mommy and daddy who are about to go on a school run to pick up their children from school. So I think they would actually complement each other very well as a couple. I think they would complement each other very well. And so the girls didn't say anything. I expected them to say, no, we didn't say that. No, we didn't say that. And Emma actually said, Rochelle told me to kiss him. And so I was trying to do anything and everything. I was motivated to make my marriage work. So him saying leave sort of shook me. And the feedback that I got, I felt the need to sort of be open. And so sadly, this seems to have taken them a couple of steps back. I don't know whether they'll actually work as a couple, because I don't know how genuine Casper has got over the fact that, you know, she reminds him of his sister. He hasn't really brought that up since. And so is there hope for them? I think so. I think if Emma can take on board that she doesn't need to discuss her marriage with other people outside of the experts, because not everyone is going to have good advice for her, or not everyone's advice is going to work for her relationship, I think this will go a long way for her. This will go a very long way for her. And so I hope they work. They both choose to stay. Surprised? No, they deserve to stay. They deserve to stay. Even if they're not working, they are the least controversial couple in the experiment. So I would rather keep them and get rid of at least 4 or 5 other couples before we get rid of them. Next up is Sasha and Ross. Sasha and Ross, well, Sasha says she didn't like the countryside. It's not for everyone. It really is not for everyone. So hey, if she doesn't like it, somebody else loves it. So she wasn't happy to be in the countryside, but the drama amongst the girls has sort of affected the morale, it seems, in most couples. And for me, for her to say that, you know, they normally get along, blah, 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 that's because you've not been involved in the drama, love. You've always sat, as you said, at the opposite end of the table. Polly, this is not her first time having a go at another wife. And I bet you this is not going to be the last time, because once Hannah leaves, she's going to look for another weak target. If there was another bride to come in, she would look for the target. And sadly for Siobhan, she might be the target. If her husband says he fancies her, she might be the target. And now that Hannah's gone, Polly might turn her attention to her, because Polly, it seems, likes sort of inserting herself into other people's relationships and other people's discourse. They both say they're doing very well. Kudos to them for not wanting to discuss their physical intimacy. Hey, to each their own. I'm happy they chose to say that, and I'm happy that they chose to make sure that the experts fully understood that they're not going to discuss their sex life just for TV. If they want to not talk about it, that's the way it's going to be, and the experts were happy with that. They asked them a question, you know, do you think everything is going great? And they said yes, and that was it. And they're not going to discuss it any further. You could tell from the look on Ross's face, he would have preferred to say a lot more, but hey, to each their own. I really like them as a couple, but the streets are saying that Ross apparently is dating somebody else, which is infuriating, given the fact that this girl has always spoken highly of him and really said she's ready to move for him. So I don't know where things went left. They both chose to stay. I was surprised? No. Lastly is Rochelle and Orson. Rochelle and Orson was going to be fireworks, because you even had the participants actually saying it. You had at one point Kieran and Casper talking and saying which is the next train wreck, and they were sort of pointing towards Rochelle and Orson, and they didn't disappoint. I said this before and I'll say this again. Rochelle should have left the moment she walked away at the honeymoon, because this has done nothing but sort of to devalue and degrade her, because she's got a negative edit. Whether she was right or wrong in how she felt about this man, everything has come across negatively since then, because every time she's spoken about him, it hasn't been anything positive. She's been degrading, she's been demeaning, she's been malicious and vindictive, and it wasn't necessary. She could have easily said what she wanted to say without all the sort of negative things that she said. She could have just said, I last week I wanted to go home. We agreed that would stay just because you wanted extra time, and sadly things didn't improve, things actually got worse, and so now I'm at a point whereby I want to leave. She didn't need all the name calling. That wasn't necessary. That wasn't necessary for her at all. She could have left in a dignified and demure way without saying all the negative things she said about him. And yes, he is wrong. She didn't need to say anything negative, because the truth came out that apparently he and Hannah kissed. And yes, he might have been trying to stay in the experiment. And so this is why he was going out of his way to try and sort of create a bond or create intimacy with another wife. And so she is justified in that sense. She didn't need to say everything she said. She didn't need to. For Lacy to chime in and sort of say they kissed, this is what I said before. Sadly for Lacy, Holly, Sasha, they're now getting negative edits because they've decided to involve themselves in this We Hate Hannah tour. And this We Hate Hannah tour, we actually all don't know exactly what they hate Hannah for, because after they chose to leave, you had Lacy saying to Rochelle, I always had your back, I was always going to have your back. And it's not like, and it's like, this is not a war. This is not a war. Rochelle doesn't need you to back her. She can't speak up for herself. You should have minded your business, since your husband doesn't want to involve himself in other people's business. And for Rochelle to say, oh, Orson and Hannah went on a double date with Alex and Holly, and it's like, please, why is Holly involved in all the cheating scandals? Why is she at the center of all the scandals? It doesn't make sense. Alex, that got him riled up, and he was very furious and mad, and you were starting to kick off. Then you have, Sasha chime in, and it's like, why are you chiming in? Why are you chiming in? Why not let people sort of discuss their business and just sit there and watch? You've got people like Christina, they're just watching. People like Emma are just watching, but they were all there at the retreat with you. Do you think they don't have opinions? Opinions are like bumholes. Everybody's got one, but you just don't need to open it in front of every single person. So I get why Alex was pissed off. He asked to speak to Ross afterwards. I think he wanted to have a conversation with Ross because he felt he wasn't safe to speak to, Sasha. And sadly for him, because of the way he's exploded, he's going to be painted as the angry black guy. And Rochelle, the way she's behaved, I've watched only 2 seasons, and I'm yet to see a happy sort of black couple. Both black couples that have been there have been very miserable, and there's been a lot of name calling and sort of demeaning and devaluing each other and disrespect. So I'm sad that this is where we are, but hey, are we surprised they left? No, I think it was time for them to leave. It was time for them to leave. They didn't need to stay any longer because things were getting out of hand, and the longer they had stayed, the worse the edits would have been for Rochelle, and I don't think she deserves that. She says she's got a business to run. She needs to go and run her business. It's not worth her being on Channel 4 and continuing to get this negative edit that might affect her business. Anyway, I'm happy, we are where we are. I wish 1 or 2 more couples had gone. I wish Polly and Adam had gone. And also, I think Alex and Holly should have left. But hey, it is what it is. Thanks, guys, for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And click the link in my video to watch my review from episode 20. Bye, guys.